Dzień dobry Państwu, witam wszystkich serdecznie.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our results presentation for the first quarter 2025. Let's start with a short recording.
Pierwsze miesiące 2025 roku Budimex rozpoczął z rozmachem. Na mapie Europy przybyło strategicznych projektów. W Estonii firma rozpoczyna budowę kolejnego odcinka superszybkiej kolei Rail Baltica, wartego 300 milionów euro. To już drugi fragment tej transgranicznej arterii po udanym debiucie na Łotwie. Tymczasem w Polsce rośnie Centrum Himalaizmu imienia Jerzego Kukuczki w Katowicach. Symbol siły ludzkich ambicji. Inwestycje drogowe nie zwalniają tempa. Obwodnica Serocka i szósty już odcinek S10 to kolejne kroki w budowie sprawnej Polski. Nad Bałtykiem trwa rozbudowa nabrzeża węglowego w Gdańsku. 546 metrów inwestycji, która wzmocni polskie wybrzeże. We Włocławku kontynuujemy rozbudowę Wojewódzkiego Szpitala Specjalistycznego. W marcu podpisaliśmy umowę na wykończenie i wyposażenie placówki. W Gdańsku T3 Baltic Hub wkracza w przedostatni etap. Na teren inwestycji dotarły właśnie najnowocześniejsze suwnice w Europie, a w Bydgoszczy na operze Nowa zawisła wiecha, symbol kolejnego etapu kulturowego dziedzictwa. W tunelach i na autostradach też nie zwalniamy tempa. Pod Limanową tarcza Kinga drąży już kolejne metry tunelu, a na Słowacji autostrada D1 zyskuje nowe pasy. Nasze projekty zmieniają przestrzeń. Mosty berdychowskie w Poznaniu łączą już brzegi Warty, a modernizacja DW 501 na Mierzei Wiślanej to ważny krok w stronę bezpieczeństwa i rozwoju regionu. Budimex to jednak nie tylko beton i stal, to ludzie. Inżynierki nominowane w plebiscycie Women in Construction, menedżerowie z Akademii Przywództwa, praktykanci zdobywający doświadczenie na kontraktach aż w 15 województwach. To też troska o planetę. 140 nowych drzew przy trasie do Wilanowa i farma fotowoltaiczna Azaria od BXF Energia, która wkrótce zasili naszą sieć. Nowe technologie? Park maszynowy wzbogacił się o pociąg Placer & Teurer, a startupy w programie Acceleration szukają rozwiązań dla budownictwa przyszłości. Nasza spółka FB Service zadba o obsługę techniczną kompleksu urbanistycznego wymiaru sprawiedliwości w Warszawie. Za granicą Mostostal Kraków kończy arenę Avicii w Sztokholmie, a Budimex Mobility stawia kolejne stacje ładowania EV w Trójmieście. Rok 2025 zaczęliśmy mocnym akcentem, bo dla Budimexu każdy projekt to nie tylko kontrakt. To opowieść o rozwoju, która łączy ludzi, technologię i przyszłość.
Good morning, welcome. Let me introduce my team. On my left, Cezary Łysenko, member of the board in charge of the road infrastructure and general construction. On my right, CFO of our group, Marcin Węgłowski, and Maciej Olek, in charge of railway and energy infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, we think that the first quarter was very good. Before commenting on financial results, I would like to present some key achievements of this quarter. We have maintained a very good order book. We have improved our margin in the construction sector by 0.7%. We are awaiting the signature of the next Rail Baltica project in Estonia. It's worth 1.4 billion zlotys with our participation of 40%. We are also the author of the bids worth 461 million zlotys. It's the sector we are entering right now. And now going to the macroeconomic environment. Let's start with GDP and inflation. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the slide. The inflation hasn't changed since our last focus, 4.9%, quite high, and depends on energy prices. 3.7, it's the level of GDP, good dynamics. We hope that the inflation will be going down. Reference rate yesterday 5.75, but today 5.25, and interest rates should go down as well. That's what the market expects. PMI 50 points more. That's good. The first quarter in general seems to be optimistic. Everybody's entering a new year with hopes. But I hope that this increase will maintain. Going to the construction and assembly production, the first quarter was positive with plus results. The previous one wasn't that positive, not only in general construction, but also in a specialized sector as well as in civil engineering. The first quarter of 2025, the market went up 1.8 in civil engineering, 6.6 in specialized construction, reduction in general construction. So it will be hard to get to the level of 0. So if everything goes well, this diagram should be flat. So margins in construction. I've already shown you the year 2024, but it seems that the first quarter will maintain the trend from the previous one with a reduction. And we will see some increase in the second half of the year 2025. That's what we predict. And reduction in construction and assembly production. There is no pressure on prices of the most important materials for the sector, such as steel, concrete, among others. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, going to the financial result of the company. Our revenues reach 1,645,000,000, which is very similar to the level of the previous year. The revenues are still a challenge in spite of the record level order book this year. We expect an increase, but not in the first half of the year. It's a special period, quite seasonal one, with problematic weather. But we expect to increase our revenues till the end of the year comparing to the last year. Our result is of 111 million, 6.8%, which proves stability of our company. Our net profit is of 114 million, as well resembling the previous year. So we consider our results to be quite good, with a challenge in the field of revenues. Looking at segments, particular segments, the construction segment with an increase of 5%, revenues 1,489,000,000. In general construction, good diversification of the order book, as well as positive schedules that allowed us to increase revenues. EBIT as well, with an improvement. We've reached 111 million with 7.5%, comparing to 95 million last year. Looking at the service segment, the revenues with a very good level, 224 million. EBIT as well improved at the end of the first quarter, 9.7%. The revenues of the FB Service Group, which is the key asset of this group, reached 220 million. We should add here the renewable resources. The level of EBIT is of 11.2%.
And now, net treasury position at the end of the quarter. Our treasury position is of 2.8 billion, slightly below the level at the end of the year, but comparing year on year, we have 3.2 versus 2.8, which is caused by different factors. And one of them is the income tax we paid, which is higher than the year before. Also, it is because of the specifics of the contracts. This is the Polish governance contracts, which means that we need to invest, we need to finance the work, and we get paid at the end. And now the dividend. For 17 years we have been paying dividends to our shareholders, having paid more than 6 billion zlotys in dividend in total. And now, to fulfill our dividend strategy, we recommend a payment of 100% of dividend. That would be 649 million zlotys, which gives 25 zlotys and 43 groszy for share. Order book and contract signed. After 3 years, we have signed 3 months. We have signed 1 billion worth of contracts. One of the most important is S10 Expressway, 6th section of the same road, more than 65 kilometers total. Also, we have hydrotechnical contracts a quay in Gdańsk, a railway station, also some military contract. We still have contracts awaiting signature. As you see, the value is similar each year. This year, the level grew somehow because of the strategic contracts for Polish energy grid. If you see the order book, still at a record-breaking level, 17.5 billion zlotys at the end of the first quarter, which gives us work for 2 more years. And some of those contracts are expected to be executed in 2027 and 28, which gives us stable perspective on margin, because those contracts were signed in 2024 last year, which include the current prices, and also there's an indexation clause in this contract. What we see that the market is still very aggressive because the construction firms still have more potential than the contracts announced by the contracting authorities. A good sign is that the ruling by the European Court were taken into account by our contracting authorities, and companies from outside the European Union are seen in other way than the EU companies. And now our subsidiaries, FB Service, very good results. Revenues at similar level than last year, but still we have better profitability from 8.9% grew up to 11.2%. Also, the treasury position is lower than last year, but this is according to plan. The first quarter is always that way because of the fees the company needs to pay in order to operate on the market in Poland. So we expect all this money to come back by the end of 2025. Also, there are some investment made to improve the working environment in the company. As for Mostostal Kraków, we have revenues at a lower level than in 2024. The contract signed much below last year, as it seems, but first, it's due to the fact that there are lots of new contracts at the end of 2024 signed. Also, Mostostal Kraków will sign contracts as a subcontractor for general contractors in the second half of the year. So we expect the level of new contracts to get back to the levels from 2024. EBIT is very good, 18.1 million, with respect to 17.6 last year. So there is an increase of profitability in Mostostal Kraków. Thank you. And now to the market and perspectives. We like this slide very much. This is a summary of investment programs in the country. I will not go over each one of those. As you can see, there is a level of execution. I want to dedicate some words to a Polish grid investment program, which is a sector where we invest. We created a team some time ago, and we invest some money in this team, and we already got some contracts from Polish grid by the value of 460 million. This is a very important contracting authority for us. And other contract that we may boast, there are military contracts, which we don't see on this list, but military is the other contracting authority, very important for us, a very big investor by thousands of millions of zlotys in the next years. If we see the EU financing, let me I'm not going to dedicate much time on this. We already know those programs. So what we want you to know is that the 12th and 11th contract for the funds for infrastructure, climate and environments were signed for next years by the GDDK, which is a very important contracting authority for us. So more financing comes to the Polish market. If you see the total value of EU funds, we have 24 billion plus the Connecting Europe facility, which is dedicated to all countries that sum up to 32 billion, with National Recovery Plan by 60 billion euros. And now, as for our key contracting authorities, I give the floor to Czarek. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very good that the GDDK confirmed that the National Roads Development Plan is going to be continued. You may see the expenditures planned for the next years, and the peak is expected in 2028, but this doesn't mean that later on the investment will fall. There are some additional funds expected to be invested in this sector. As you may see, this market is developing very nicely. We have more than 10 billion roads in our portfolio. There are some contracts that are awaiting the building permit, which is blocking us from starting the production, but we're ready to go. We have some hydrotechnical contract. This segment is very interesting nowadays. And also, we have 3.2 billion in the portfolio for general construction. And now, us versus the market, the General Directorate for Roads signed 13.6 billion, of which we signed 6.2 billion. We've signed 583 million in contracts, but there are some contracts where our tender was the best and are awaiting signature, such as the Nidzica bypass, Warzymice bypass, S11, National Road 22. This year, GDDK wants to announce nearly 14 billion zlotys in new tenders. We are in ongoing conversations with them and asking them to distribute it evenly to avoid accumulations. And the same we want to ask in the perspective of 7-8 years, to distribute new contracts evenly so that each contractor may prepare for the tendering process, not to be too aggressive. As I said, for this year we have nearly 14 billion, 330 kilometers of new roads. This first quarter there were 14 new tenders, and most of them haven't finished yet.
Thank you very much. Railway segment. So the railway segment, the situation is improving. The tenders that PKP PLK announced some tenders last year, and right now the contracting authority is awarding those contracts. One of them has been already signed. Still, this market differs from the road market due to the financing mechanism. We are still optimistic in a medium and long-term perspective. This market has good prospects due to the tenders predicted by CPK and PKP PLK with huge investment planned. Last year we signed 3 billion zlotys. We are recovering our order book. We have works guaranteed for this year and next year. After some poor, let's call it, years, the competition is placing low bids, and we are not participating in this price war, taking into account the possible cost increase in the future. We are still evaluating almost 20 billion bids, and we hope that our stable contracting policy will give results as in past years. As you have seen on this short recording, we have started drilling the tunnels. On one of our sites, we are also finishing works at Warszawa Zachodnia station. All contracts are going according to schedules. And now going to the energy sector, our CEO has already talked about Polish grid contracts. We've had some successes in this field. We've placed the best bids in 3 tenders for PSE for contracts for building the grid near Choczewo. We are very active in this sector, and in nearest months we expect more awarded contracts. We want to build some of those contracts using our own resources. We know how important are those contracts from the strategic point of view for Poland. In the first quarter, we have placed the best offer for the Polish recycling line for the selective treatment of waste. We have placed also the best offer for a gas contract in Lwówek. In the nearest months, we will keep on placing bids. We are still working to be present in the nuclear market. Our group company Mostostal Kraków is collaborating with Westinghouse. We are participating in the project as well. We will build a road leading to the plant. We want to work with Bechtel as well. We have placed some bids with Mostostal Kraków for some buildings in the frame work of the nuclear project. So, summing up the first quarter, we think it's been very good. As far as the margin and the revenues are concerned, 7% in the construction market is very satisfactory. The order book has reached record levels, 17.5 billion, and it's very diversified. We are present in almost all construction segments. In most of the contracts were signed in 2024 with an indexation clause, which allows us to think with optimism about the future. We are entering new markets, Estonia among others, continuing the project Rail Baltica. Thank you very much for those results. We are at your disposal to answer your questions. So we invite you to ask questions. Some questions from the floor. Thank you. Darek Nawrot, Noble Securities. I would like to ask you about the first quarter. Negative company income tax in the service sector. I can't give you details. This is a very small value, taking into account our group volume. That's not that I don't want to give you answer, but I guess that it's a kind of mixture. Sometimes we give a very low tax in 1 year, and next year it's the other way round. So it's the effect that you can see from 1 year to another. But why exactly 400,000? I guess it should be something like 4 million, I guess, in plus. I guess that it's that the previous year this value was quite high, and that's the reason why. In general, the tax is of 19%, and if you look at the 5-year period, in general, you will get this value of 19%. And sometimes, yes, it happens that from 1 year to another, there's a huge difference. those revenues that decreased that much in FB service correspond to the waste segment or other segments? I mean, it's the beginning of the year, so that value that we are talking about, for me, it's like flat image, both waste and road maintenance sector maintain the levels of the previous year. And those eliminations in the group, 70 millions, I guess it's that real estate project in Poznań and photovoltaic farm. And 22 million as far as operating profit is concerned, and 90 million as far as the net profit is concerned. Yes, these are exactly those projects. It's mainly the construction of the photovoltaic farm, Azalea, and this real estate project in Poznań. This Azalea project has almost 200 million value, and a real estate project of 400 flats with 71 millions. We have 22 millions of EBIT eliminated. I mean, it has been more in the past, in the period when we had in the group still real estate division. This margin will come back at the moment we sell the flats. And FB service, till the end of May, you should finish the first stage of revision of strategic options. Will you indicate one of the 4 options possible for the company that you've been studying since November, or you will give us more details? We hope it will be till the end of May, and if not, we will publish some information about it, but I guess that we will know the direction at least. And going to long-term perspectives, in German market, you have 2 companies with 300-400 million revenues due to some investment predicted by German government. Do you think that it's possible for you to reach the level of 1 billion revenues? It can be complicated, but I hope to increase this level, of course. Budimex Bau and Mostostal Kraków, that is working in a very intensive way on expanding on this market, supplying steel structures. Those investments in the German market are around 500 billion euros. So 3 years, it may be too short to register an important increase, but still we hope to increase this level. Mostostal Kraków is the most important part of our German business, so to go from 300 million to 1 billion is like a huge change, but obviously we want to have our share of the German market. And then we have a railway business, in charge of which is Maciej Olek. Our client is Deutsche Bahn. We will provide services for this client, and we hope that the scale of this business will also increase, but 1 billion is really a lot.
Another question on another border, Ukrainian market. If the war ends, are you taking some measures, studying the market to be there. Do you see any possibility of getting contracts on that market when the war ends, or even if the war ends, you don't see that possibility? Of course, the Ukrainian market is in the area of our interest. We do follow it closely. We participate in some meeting. We have analyzed the necessities of the Ukrainian market, but as you said, this is a risky market. And when the war freezes, we will be able to see if the risk is lower, any lower. All will depend on the way the tenders are going to be carried out and the execution of contracts, and all this will make us decide if we are going to enter strongly or just in some particular projects of interest. Maria Mickiewicz-Wood. My question is partly about the railway market and partly about the order book perspectives. You've already mentioned the high level of aggressive tenders. There were about 8 billion zlotys in tenders this year, and you haven't been in the first place in any of those because of the competition. And as we see, there are huge oscillations in this market. Historically, there were huge oscillations. If the appetite of the competition was satiated in some way, satisfied, maybe you see some possibilities to now get new contracts and new tenders. Could you please comment on that? And maybe your order book is going to increase sharply this year, or do you see it as a rather flat situation? As you see, we've already won more than 8 billion in contracts awaiting signature, and our goal is 8.5 for the whole year. And as far as the railway, we remain calm. As you said, there's a huge pressure on prices, and we think that during the following 3 or 4 years, because that's the time it takes, it's not possible to carry out a contract. We price every tender, and we think that our competition is not going to be able to maintain this level of prices during a longer period of time. Are their appetite satisfied? We don't know. There are companies with really huge potential. We, as Budimex, have work for this year and for the next year. Also, we are expecting some new tenders for CPK. So, I think that our goals, which is to increase the portfolio, is going to be attainable. The key idea is not to get any contract, but to get a profitable contract. As you see, there are many companies that are very aggressive. Our order book during the past years was of about 13 billion, and now it's 18 billion. We want to grow, but we want to grow gradually. Our growth the last year was of between 6 and 8%, and this is the pattern we want to follow. Later on, when we start our design and build contract, the growth will be higher, but we don't want to get much more than starting the two-digit level. Okay, we will pass now to online questions. The first one on finance issues. The reserves for losses have grown. Why? What's the reason of the situation? In first quarter, we do a revision of our contracts in the portfolio. There is not one question that would cause this. We just reevaluated our contracts. We increased the reserves. Some of the contracts have improved their results, and some, unfortunately, hasn't. So we were forced to increase the reserves. But this is not due to one particular contract. These are many contracts. And the next question, railway. What's the level of execution of Rail Baltica in Latvia? What is the revenue expected this year? Rail Baltica is in a starting phase, which is typical to this type of investment, because we didn't get design right away. This is a formal part. We're verifying the projects, introducing some changes, and that's the stage right now. And we expect 4 acts of commencement, which means starting of works. And gradually, our contracting authority will give us the following construction permits. Our contract says that each year between 17 and 300 million euros will be activated. I think that until June we will get some numbers for the next year, but for this year we expect the revenues of about 20 million euros. Are there any questions in the room? If not, let's carry on with the online questions. Revenues increase structure. How is it expected to be executed in the second half of the year? Are you expecting more growth of revenue in railway? For sure, we are going to have some sharp increase in railways. We've started big projects in the railway, especially the tunnel contract, LK 104. Our revenues are going to increase, but by 1 digit. Thank you. And next question we have here. Which are the biggest tenders that are going to be awarded next 2 or 3 months? Today, for instance, there are 2 S6 contracts. The Szczecin bypass is going to be open, the results of a tender. We are going to know the results of a tender. Also, some railway contracts, Białystok-Ełk, of more than 4 billion zlotys. Any questions from the room? More online questions. Order book. Which is the medium period of execution of contract comparing to last period? It's difficult to say. We are carrying out 220 contracts right now, and each one of them is different. Design and build is minimum 3 years, just build 2 years. And what we see that as a cause of this huge number of new contracts, there are some delays when getting the construction permit, which is why we want to encourage our construction authority to change the formula from design and build to just build, because this will let this happen more quickly and this let the contractor to keep the deadline. Any new questions from the room? I would like to comment on Rail Baltica in Latvia. You mentioned 4 acts of commencement. How many of those are executed? How many of those do you expect this year? And how the growth is going to go? Physically, we're executing works on 1 scope. We expect 4 more the next weeks, and the next scopes are going to be decided until the end of June this year. We don't know how many scopes are going to be added up each year, but we have a volume of works guaranteed of between 70 and 200 million euro. This is for the whole consortium. Yes, this is an integrated consortium, and we are executing together these scopes I was talking about. Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, so let's go back to your earlier questions. We have questions about the competition in different markets, railway market, road market. We've already answered that. If you see the railway and road market, you see that there's a fight for new tenders. There's a huge competition, which is a surprise for us, is that with the contracts of more than 1 billion zlotys, there are like 50 or 20 tenders placed, which has never been so. And you may understand that the potential on the market is bigger than the new tenders that appear.
Dziękuję bardzo za odpowiedź. Pytanie, które wcześniej do nas też trafiło, dotyczy...
And the next question, how is the opening of the tenders by Polish Grid, CPK, and the nuclear plant investor? And starting from the Polish grid operator, we quote the tenders, and we have quite a high level of success. We've been on the 3rd place in 3 tenders, and among best 3 tenderers in 3 more. There were no contracts signed because between the placing of the tender and signing the contract is between 3 to 6 months, so it will take some more time. For the nuclear plant, it's too early to talk about details because the number of tenders in relation to the whole project is insignificant. We just placed the tender for design and construction of a road. But as I may say that Westinghouse chose 7 companies to potential execution of some elements for nuclear island, and we're present in as Mostostal Kraków. And as far as Bechtel goes, they signed a contract with Polish nuclear plants, and they are at the stage of design. So we're in the process of qualification and dialogue to state the conditions of future projects. If Bechtel is going to announce any tender this year depends on the way that Polish nuclear plants get the financement. And for that we need some decisions from the EU. As for CPK, it's getting started. It's gaining some speed. There's a tunnel in Łódź. We expect 30 billion this year. 130 for the airport part and high-speed railway. That's what the government guaranteed. For now, CPK is announcing tenders that are not in our interest, like the luggage handling system. But in the second half of the year, we do expect some construction tenders, which is a competition dialogue for the terminal and first project for the high-speed rail construction between Warsaw and Łódź. I think the next year we're going to be able to see how the process is going. Next question online is about financing, how you see the liquidity on the market. Are investors paying on time, or are there any delays? Or maybe your subcontractors are requiring anticipated payment. No, we don't see any problems. Everything's fine. We don't see any problems in terms of payments. Military contracts is our next question. I will answer that. It depends on the segment. We've had some time when military segment really had some effect on the revenues of infrastructure, which were 2 billion in 1 year. And now it's more leaning towards general construction, where we are going to have 500 million of revenues this year, which is important part of the revenues of this division. We don't have any more questions. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your participation.